What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Sci Fi Bookery. I'm Josh, and it is really noisy in my basement right now. It's cold and rainy, the sump pump keeps kicking on, the furnace keeps kicking on, and it's just getting annoying. Every time I try to talk, all this noise. So I'm back here in one of my favorite rooms in the house. This is where all my plants are all over the place, and this is where I get really good sun in this room. I like to read in here and stuff, so I thought this would be a good spot for it. It's been a minute since I had a book haul video out, and it's not because I haven't been getting books, it's because I haven't had any time to make videos, really. So I'm back with some books that I've gotten over the last couple weeks. It's not a ton, but it's definitely some really quality stuff. This past weekend, I went to my local thrift store that I've told you guys about before, where they have 50-cent paperback books. The hardcovers are 79 cents, and it's 3 books for $1. So, I mean, you really can't beat that as far as pricing goes, because I've been to other thrift stores and they want like $2 for books, and it's like the, you know, like Penguin classic books are like $3 they put on. It's just ridiculous. I went to one the other day and they wanted like $5 for a book. And I go, what are you doing, man? This is a thrift store. Like, I can go to my local used bookstore where I get a lot of my really old vintage sci-fi books, and I pay like $2.50 for those. So like, I don't know what some of these thrift stores are thinking, but anyways, let me get into it. I found some really great sci-fi books as well as some classics and some stuff, because, you know, I've talked about this before. I'm trying to branch out a little bit. So let's jump right into it with the classic essential cyberpunk reading, Snow Crash, Neil Stephenson. Of course, I've never read it before, but I'm definitely going to give it a shot now. Snow Crash, I read a little bit of it. I might do like a first chapter Friday with this one. It's a very interesting story. So it's this pizza delivery guy who is kind of like in this other world. He's this like knight prince kind of, you know, savior character, and he needs to stop a hacker from basically crashing the entire world, which is called Snow Crash. So I'm interested to read that. I've seen a lot of great stuff, and like I said, it's essential cyberpunk, so you want to read cyberpunk, that's kind of what you got to read. Next up, this is a classic, Maltese Falcon. I've seen the movie, I've never read the book. I'm gonna read this. It's kind of like a whodunit detective story, and it's highly regarded as one of the greatest detective books ever written. So I will be the judge of that, but I really do like that movie that is all in black and white. Another good classic find, Frankenstein here, and this is a what is this? It is a Penguin, yeah, or no, Puffin, sorry, this is Puffin Classics, Frankenstein. The writing is very it's very Victorian, if you want to put it that way. And this was also, I love finding this. This is a discarded library book, but I like when they actually put the discarded stamp on there. But funny story about this book and a couple that are coming up. I was watching a book haul with Bookjack. I'll put his link down in the description there. And he had a bunch of the same books that I have in this haul, in that haul. So I thought that was kind of funny. We're both sort of on a trend collecting classics. So we're going to run into that here and there, where we're going to find some of the same books, because a lot of people don't buy the classics at thrift stores anymore, like where we shop. So anyways, shout out to Bookjack. Keep building sweet shelves. Rock and roll. Next up, let me dig into some of these so that before I get into like the really crazy sci-fi finds that I had. Animal Farm. I'm collecting all the classics, you know, for my kids to read, or anybody who needs to borrow a book. So I'm trying to get like a lot of classics like that. So Animal Farm, fantastic book. I would recommend this to any kids who want to learn how the real world works. This is an awesome vintage copy of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. This is one of my favorite books growing up, and I don't know what happened to my copy of it, but I really loved this vintage look to this one, and it's gonna look really cool on a shelf. So had to get that. Guys, you know that I'm trying to branch out into modern books. I'm having a really hard time finding anything modern that I like to read. So when I go to the thrift store, I'll grab a couple, 50 cents each, or 33 cents each, 3 for 99 cents, whatever. This one looked cool. Spine Damage. I mean, it's got a llama on the front, and it's spine damage. There's a bunch of books. I have a feeling it's about books. I think it has something. I started reading like the first few, like the first page or something, and it has something to do with a library, something happening in a library. So I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. You know, I might get into it just because of that. And I really enjoyed Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. It was the first, spoiler or public announcement, whatever. It was the first John Grisham book I ever liked. I've tried reading John Grisham so many times, and I like his the movie adaptations of his books, but I just can't deal with the like legalese stuff in his books. It's just so dry and boring. But I found Skipping Christmas to be really entertaining and enjoyable, and it's kind of like it's a quick read, and it's sort of like low brain activity. Like you don't have to think about it at all. So I wanted to find more books like that by John Grisham, and of course I did. This one is called Playing for Pizza, and it's about this third string quarterback that gets hurt, and he gets cut by the team, and he just wants to play football, so his agent finds him a team in Italy to play for. I read the beginning of this, and it is quick, it's fun, it's witty, it's everything you want from quaint and cozy John Grisham book. I really am enjoying that so far. So now let's get into the really crazy vintage sci-fi stuff. Well, this first one's not vintage, but it goes along with everything else. Essential sci-fi reading. What's essential? Anybody, what's essential sci-fi reading? Oh, Dune? Okay, Dune. So, Frank Herbert's Dune trilogy on top of a trilogy. The 6 books of Dune is classic sci-fi reading. This thing is a beast. It's got an afterword in there, and it's got an appendix, and it's got maps and all this stuff, which I don't usually get into sci-fi when it has maps and you have to learn a language to read it and whatever. But I am going to finally read this. I've watched the movies and all that, but I am going to finally read Dune by Frank Herbert one of these days. And then part of the original trilogy, Children of Doom. I'm just missing Dune Messiah in between these two, but this is a nice vintage copy of Children of Dune. And then the second trilogy of Dune. This one is even more vintagey. This is the God Emperor of Dune. And I've always liked that cover because it's just, I don't know, that's weird. And look at Frank on the back. Dude is, he's got a man's beard right there. That is a man's man. Good old Frank. And now for the 2 best finds, at least for me, of the day. I always go to my local bookstore for my vintage sci-fi pocketbooks, or eBay, or PangoBooks, link down below, check it out. But I never find them at thrift stores until this weekend, where I found Arthur C. Clarke's Reach for Tomorrow. I've heard good things about this. It's part of, I think it's part of a series. I'm not sure. It might be like the Childhood End series. I'm not sure. But anyways, yeah, Arthur C. Clarke, Reach for Tomorrow. This is a nice vintage copy in pretty good shape, actually. I was surprised. So that was the find of the day until I found The Stars Like Dust by Isaac Asimov. This is absolutely essential sci-fi reading. From what I'm told, I've never read it. I enjoy Asimov occasionally. I'm not a huge Isaac Asimov fan. I was when I was younger. I feel like I was younger before I started discovering other readers. Isaac Asimov is sort of like the thing, like sci-fi writing. Oh, Isaac Asimov, sci-fi books, Isaac Asimov. Like he's just like the guy until you start discovering other readers and you find what you really like. But anyways, Isaac Asimov, I'm going to give this a read through and see how that works out. But The Stars Like Dust, this thing is so vintage. It's got like the, I forget what they call it, dyed edges or something like that, but it's almost like a purpley color. I love it. This isn't the original, but it's 1966. And it's got the like braille, like the raised stamp. So somebody really liked this book. Frederick J. Barlow. So Freddie, if you're out there, I will return this book to you if you contact me. I do like to do that when I find books with people's names. And of course, most of the time they're dead. And it was just their relatives didn't think that the book had any value, so they donated it. And then I find it, which is great. So thanks, Fred, for the book. So that's it for the book haul for today. I'm Josh. This is the Sci Fi Bookery. We'll see you next time.